Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm your host, Ashwin. I'm joined by Varun. Varun, after a couple of week hiatus, I think it's about 3 weeks, international cricket is coming back. How ready are you for the Asia Cup? This is our Asia Cup preview episode, man. How are you feeling? It feels like it's been forever since cricket was played.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, that high of the last Test match in England, getting over that. Usually the Indian calendar is such that you get a few days to recover and then you're back at it. But this time I've really felt it. Like it feels like it's been the entire month. I do think it's been close to 30 days, and not having cricket for that long is hard. But then I also remember that August is always that month where we have a little bit of downtime after the IPL and potentially one overseas tour, and usually we're playing Zimbabwe and Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, and so not the worst to get a break, but let's just say I'm really looking forward to it starting up.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, actually. It's not a bad thing that there's a break, actually, for any of our listeners who's tuning back in now. Last week, I got the opportunity to interview Tim Wigmore, the author of a great book about Test cricket and the history of it. So it's been good to kind of do the non-news cycle based cricket things for a little bit. But like you, I'm ready for it to be back. We're recording this on the night of Sunday, September 7th, or the morning of Sunday the 8th, or Monday the 8th in India. And as of the 9th, the Asia Cup starts. So, Varun, we're going to spend this time doing an Asia Cup preview. We'll talk about the format, a little bit about what we expect to happen, the grounds and all that. And then let's get into Team India, because that's the big debate, as always. Who's going to be the 11 that come out, and how do we think they're going to do? So let's start a little bit with the format. It's a 19-day tournament. It's in the UAE and Abu Dhabi, and obviously it's T20. Let's talk a little bit about the host venues. So we know a little bit about them. They
Also,
obviously had
it's T20.
It's T20, yeah.
Yeah.
The Champions Trophy just happened there. There's been quite a lot of T20 cricket in that region recently. Obviously, Pakistan does a lot of their home tours in the UAE. I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, I remember probably 3 years ago now we've done episodes about basically the evening matches in Dubai, at least, not Abu Dhabi as much, but in Dubai at least, became win toss, bat second, win match. So how are you feeling about these, evening starts, UAE and UAE venues?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, for me, it starts very late. Like it's 10:30 p.m. my time,
Yeah.
but obviously 8 p.m. IST. So not too bad. But you're right. So couple of things. One, we did have the Champions Trophy there, and remember, we were one of the few countries, or the only country who only played in one venue, right? So I remember there was so much chat about India's advantage of just playing in Dubai and being at one or two venues.
And not having
But
to move hotels and this. And
and
I
exactly,
understand
so
it.
there
We
was that
understood it at the
stability.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not completely uncalled for, but I don't think that's the reason we won the tournament, or more importantly, I don't think that's the reason England lost in Pakistan, right? Where there was a lot of chat about that.
Fair
Um,
enough.
so yeah, so I think India would be very familiar with the conditions. I think thinking back at the Champions Trophy, it was a bit slow. It did grip a bit. You are going to see your Varun Chakravartis, Kuldeep Yadavs come into the game pretty early on, in my opinion, and make an impact. But yes, you're right. It's this due factor that is going to, I think, make a difference. So I'm not feeling great about it, because as a cricket fan, you never want it to be win the toss and bat second. But I think, as Indian fans, I think we've got enough experience there.
Yeah, very fair. Let's talk a little bit about this is an interesting format, if you will, right? So two groups. They're playing with 8 teams, by the way. This is always an interesting choice with Asia Cup. Same thing is true with the T20 World Cups, etc. Is do you just play concentrated types of tournaments with the best sides, or do you go extended to 8, 10, 12, etc.? Obviously, this year the choice has been 8. How do you feel about that? There's really five tier one sides in Asia, right? And interestingly, as I rank order them, it's like India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, maybe, which is quite amazing, by the way, for Afghan fans. And then you have Oman, UAE, and Hong Kong. How do you feel about the format, the idea of four teams per group, and then a second kind of group round robin stage in the Super Fours versus a semifinal directly?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this before at
Yeah.
T20 World Cups. It's just, I think it's a great way to get more number of countries involved. I think you think about, for these countries, the lead up to it, qualifying, right? They have to put in the effort, the practice, they have to deliver results. Like, in the past, I think Nepal has been there, but they weren't here this year. So there are more teams, and I think it's a pretty good format. I also think it just allows some of the bigger teams to get a little bit warmed up, because there has been a little bit of break, and you come back, there's a couple of things. A, you haven't played together for a while. B, you've played different format of cricket, like India has played tests. So I'm all in favor of it, but I do think you're right that when you get to that Super Four group where then everyone plays everyone, that's when, in my opinion, the Asia Cup will take off.
Yeah, very well said. So this is an interesting one for you. I have in front of me the T20 International Men's ICC team rankings. Okay, I don't know if you've looked at them in the last day. We didn't look at them together in prep. But if I was to ask you among these 8 sides who are playing, don't look down, don't look at it right now. I want to know. Don't check. I just want to know your gut instinct based on what we've seen. Obviously, there was just a try series where Afghanistan beat Pakistan early on, and then Pakistan went on to win the entire thing in the final. Where would you rank kind of these 8 sides among, let's say, the top 20-ish sides in the world?
I mean, maybe let me just give you my top 3 or 4. Right?
Sure.
I would say, definitely India. I would put
Where do you think India
Afghanistan
is in the global list?
probably second, first or second.
Second to who?
I don't know, man. That's a good question.
Yeah, no, they're first. India's first. I won't do the suspense too much. India's the number 1 men's T20 side right now. Yeah. Okay. Who do you have next?
Out of this cohort, I would probably put Afghanistan next.
Okay.
And then Pakistan and Bangladesh. That's how I think in my head how the top 4 would look.
Okay. But then, interesting question. I told you India's first. Where do you think Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka rank?
Probably all between 10 and 20. No, probably between 7 and 20.
Yeah, so this is what's really interesting, right? The World ICC team rankings, and for any of our listeners who know this is not going to be a reveal, but India's 1, Australia is 2, then England, then New Zealand, then South Africa, and then West Indies. So as you think about the big 12-ish nations, 7 is Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's ahead of the others, by the way.
Okay.
8 is Pakistan. In terms of rating points, 1 rating point behind them. 9 is Afghanistan, 8 rating points behind, and 10 is Bangladesh. So you have this very tight middle among the remaining Asian sides, which, first off, not great, right? You want the South Asian sides and the Asian sides to be doing better. But I find it so fascinating that you have India and then you have 7, 8, 9, 10 as is very, very close. And we know anything can happen in T20 games. Then just quickly rounding it out, the UAE is 15, Oman is 20, and Hong Kong is 24.
Got it.
Okay. But I just found this 7, 8, 9, 10 super fascinating because as you look at the groups, then it does tell you, like I said, T20 matches, knockout type formats, anything is possible. But does that give you a little bit of a sneak peek into what you expect to happen, Varun? Like jumping ahead, do you expect India to win this tournament? Should India win it? Is anything less than a win a misfire?
I think so, right? Given exactly what you've described, I'm trying to think back. If you were to pull up this list from 10 years ago, I guarantee you it would have looked different, right? You would have had Pakistan, Sri Lanka in probably in the top 7. So this was a very interesting fact for me. The gulf between these teams is very, very wide. And even a West Indies, that's a T20 team, is sitting in the second half of that top 10 table. So kind of shows you where world cricket has been headed in the last 5 to 10 years. I think, if you ask my honest opinion, I think anything less than India is going to be a shock.
Okay, so for this in May of 2015,
that's why if you notice, I was talking a little longer so that
you were setting me up to Google. In May of 2015, according to Wikipedia, so we'll take it with a grain of salt. Sri Lanka was 1. India was 2. Pakistan 5. Afghanistan down at 10. They've probably been the biggest jump.
But you see how the distribution
Bangladesh is. Yeah. Versus 1, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fascinating. Yeah.
And I think Sri Lanka had just won the 2014 T20 World Cup at that point. That was
Yeah.
Sangakkara, Malinga, Jayawardene's last kind of big T20 hurrah. Um, and then I remember after that it was all West Indies. So it has changed. It's almost like post COVID, the tables have flipped completely.
Yeah, I mean, actually, since 2014 in the international tournaments, in the 2016, Sri Lanka came 8th out of 16 in 2021, 8th out of 16 in 2022, 7th out of 16, 2024 group stages only. So, I mean, disappointing. And obviously in 26, they're co-hosts with India, right? So, fascinating. All right, let's talk through the groups then, Varun. So if you look at the two groups, right? It's I don't know how the groups get selected. It doesn't seem like it's a coincidence that India and Pakistan are always in the same group of any international tournament, because that's really the only way to guarantee them games. So Group A is India, Pakistan, Oman, and the UAE. And Group B is Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Hong Kong. Safe to say, B is the more competitive group because those three, with Hong Kong, obviously anything's possible, but the odds are they're not going to qualify. They need something magical. But between Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, it should get pretty competitive, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I actually think that that group is the group to watch as you're getting into the Super Four stage,
Yeah.
because remember it is competitive, right? Like that 7, 8, 9, 10. When you think about it, right, if you pull that out into its own table, you always compete with people who are around you, right? Ranking wise, team wise. So I actually think these games will be great, and the fact that it's T20, it'll mean that I think there'll be a lot more viewership as well.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think time zones are going to be good. They're going to be pretty good for me on weekends at least. So, Varun, I'm going to spend a couple minutes just going through some of the headlines in of the other teams, and then we'll actually spend like you're here to listen to. If you're listening to this, you're going to spend most of our time talking about Team India. A couple of quick highlights. I think Pakistan, very interesting, right? They've had a mixed run recently, but and I think if you looked at the start of the UAE Tri Series, they just played, so they've gotten lots. They played in Sharjah, the final. Actually, all of it was in Sharjah. They lost to Afghanistan early on, right? A couple of weeks ago or so, or about a week ago now, at the time of recording this, and then ended up winning the final pretty comprehensively against Afghanistan. Mohammad Nawaz actually had a hat trick, and just starting to look solid. So I think they're coming in with some momentum. I think they have they've got good quicks, new ball quick bowlers as always. I think really for me, Pakistan's going to come down to this Rizwan Babar kind of situation, and if they work, then it's not a bad looking side. But if they
I mean,
don't,
so the interesting thing is I was going to just call this out, is there is no Rizwan and Babar, and that is a big
are they not in the
change.
squad? I should probably
No,
have known this.
no, and that's
Okay,
why it's an assumption, right? So I was going to talk about this just as we get into it, but this is going to be the first time in many years you're going to play a
wow,
tournament without Rohit, Kohli, Babar,
Rizwan,
and Rizwan. So
wow,
all four of your big names,
yeah,
who arguably may not have won you too much in
yeah,
this format, but they're just not there. And Pakistan, I think, have made a conscious effort to move on from them, because got a lot of criticism in the last 5-7 years about the way they play, the strike rates, and I don't get me wrong. I think they're still very much part of the ODI setup because their game suits that the same way Virat and Kohli are. But I see way too many parallels here, right? So
yeah,
it's kind of like a new team Pakistan. And don't forget, this year's Asia Cup is also T20 format, because we have a T20 World Cup coming up in
very
India.
soon.
I
Yeah,
think India and Sri Lanka
yep.
in Feb next year. So if you think about it, we're like 4 months away from a T20 World Cup, and this is, while this is a coveted prize and you'll gain momentum by winning this, I think teams that make it to the top four are going to be using this as an opportunity to um, probably select their top 15 players in 4 months, because not much is going to change, right, between now and Jan.
Yeah, fascinating and well said. And that's is on my miss for not even realizing that they were dropped. But obviously, a big choice for them to drop Rizwan and Babar. So, and sort of uncanny parallels to Team India. So, yeah, I mean, very interesting. I actually think a great choice, by the way. And Salman Agha is skipper. He's just lifted a trophy with them. Nawaz obviously looking good. I think it's going to be a very interesting kind of pivotal turning point, even if the results don't go quite the way Pakistan want. If they're able to kind of uncover some young players, get big international, big game experience under their belts, it'll help them a lot going into the World Cup.
Yeah. I hope the Pakistan team just plays the way Abhishek Sharma and Sky and Tilak
Yeah,
Verma play. Right? I
yeah,
really hope they just come out because they have nothing to lose. They
yeah,
are a quality side. I mean, you've still got your Haris Rauf, Shaheen Afridi, and your bowling is always going to be a strong suit. So I really hope Pakistan comes out all guns blazing and determines kind of how T20 will be played moving forward for them, because they have been held in the shackles of Babar and Rizwan for a while.
yeah. Very quickly on Afghanistan, you can look and say, hey, in the last week they've beaten Pakistan. They made the final. They obviously lost to the finals, as I've mentioned, in this tri series. But the third team in that tri series was UAE. And in the Afghanistan UAE match, by the way, the UAE was down to 5 runs needed off 3 balls to win and just fell short, and Afghanistan got through. So there's definitely some chinks in the armor. There are definitely things they're still working out. But having said that, you talked about how these pitches are sticky and um, the spinners come into it early, right? I think this is the clearest example of probably the best. I love Varun and I love Kuldeep and I love India's spin, but man, Rashid, Noor, and Mujib is probably some of the strongest. Is the strongest spin lineup in this format in the world, no question. So really, it comes down to if they're quicks and they're all rounders and they're obviously top order batters can do half decent. They still look like a threat to me, even though they've sort of been they've blown hot and cold in the recent past.
Yeah. It with Afghanistan, to me, it just always comes down to that the batting, right? Like you've heard
Yeah,
this Mujib Rashid Noor story for a few years.
yeah,
No doubt about it. Noor, I think, is the most exciting in my opinion, the youngster. But they've done well in the batting. It's just that their top two or three have to take way too much
yeah,
pressure
yeah,
on them, because even if I'm looking through the squad, right, they have got only three batsmen and the rest are all rounders
yeah,
or bowlers.
yeah,
So it is a different. I mean, obviously Gurbaz is a batsman, right? So, but three or
yeah.
four, and then it starts getting into all rounders versus other teams where you've got a little bit more.
No, but I think you're right. It's Gurbaz and Ibrahim Zadran, and then hope for the best, right? Because and with no offense intended, like Karim Jannat, Gulbadin, Azmatullah, these guys are very, very talented, but they need to show up so that the over reliance on on the opening pair doesn't drown them. All right, Varun, we're going to take a very quick break. We're going to come back, talk a little bit about Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, and then we will get into Team India. This is the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. All right, let's talk quickly about Team Sri Lanka and Team Bangladesh, right? If you think about, like I said, Sri Lanka is the best ranked of all the sides outside of Team India, obviously. They played a 3-match series last week against Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, won it 2-1. I'm just going to go through, like, Dushman Tachamira was player of the series. They chased over 190 in that final game. I mean, it's not a bad squad, right? But you also, by the way, have a lot of names that have been around for a while, right? Nisanka, Kusal Mendes at the top of the order, Pereira batting at 4, Asalanka 5, Kamindu Mendes 6, and then Pathirana Chamira. These guys have big game experience, IPL experience.
Thikshana.
Thikshana, uh, there's just an excellent kind of lineup, and yet that we know that nation has been rife with all kinds of issues with the board and just not creating the kind of talent they used to when they were winning these World Cups, to your point, back in 2014. So how are you feeling about the chances of the Sri Lankan side?
Again, now that as you ran through it and I'm detailed looking at it right now, it's not a bad side. I would actually put it uh, just at a look of the side ahead of Pakistan and Afghanistan as of now. Just because these guys are also players who go around playing different T20 leagues. They've got that experience, like you rightly said. And on paper, like at least 8 out of the 11, I think are solid players. So my challenge with them is just how cohesively do they play together, and bring up kind of the pressure situations and match game situations. That's what it'll come down to for me. But the team looks better than I actually thought.
Yeah. All right. And then finally on Bangladesh, right? Their warm-up series was against the Netherlands. So it's tough because the Netherlands can be an amazing side, but haven't proven to be that level we thought they could accomplish at some point. If I look at their bowling, Taskin, Mustafizur, Tanzim Hassan, Mehdi Hassan, it's solid. And Fizz, of course. Oh, I said Fizz. Like just rock solid, right? And then you look at their batting and you say Liton Das is now captain. Tawhid Rido is an excellent talent. They have some great talent, but could be a little bit unreliable. So for me, not dissimilar to Afghanistan, actually, I think the bowlers have proven themselves much more experienced. I think if the batting can come good and they can kind of perform from 1 through 7 consistently all the way, it can be a decent side. But this is the team that I'm a little nervous about. And if I'm betting on two making it through from Group B, it'll be Sri Lanka and Afghanistan. So I guess that's me saying my like whatever the Group 4 top 4 teams that I'm predicting, Super 4, are going to be India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan. Any disagreement with that?
No, I think it's fair. It's a touch and go for the last one, to use cliches, but I would agree. I think that would be my top 4 as well. My Super 4.
All right, Varun, let's talk about Team India now. Lots of questions about the composition, etc. I have to start by asking you about Shubman Gill as vice captain, which I think we talked briefly a few weeks ago. But coming back into the T20 setup and doing so as vice, which is basically their way of saying he's going to play in the 11. How do you feel about that choice? He had a monster English summer, but different format. He had a good IPL as well. He's been solid in IPL for a few years, but it wasn't quite what I was expecting. Was it what you thought would happen?
I didn't expect it, to be honest. This is that kind of announcement where you don't know what to feel. Like, you're not sad, you're not unhappy about it, yet you're not ecstatic about it, because the style of play seems like the predecessors who you have spent a lot of time to kind of move out, right, from this particular format. Yet at the same time, he is the future star of Indian cricket. He's come off a monster series, like you said. He's got the ear of the coach. And I think basically the message to me here is that with Sky probably around 34, 30, around the 33, 34 age group, Sky will lead India into the T20 World Cup in Feb.
For sure.
But
yeah.
my gut feel is that in March, once that's done, I think they will probably move to an all format captain, as India has seen most success with in the last 30, 40 years. So I see that this is where this is going. Don't forget there is that Rohit Sharma is still the ODI captain, or he's not really the ODI captain. The last time he played, he was the ODI captain. We have to choose our words very carefully now. So I just feel like it's heading towards that direction, and this is where this decision of Gill playing and being vice captain has been taken. Now, they did come out and make a lot of justification around it on how Shubman Gill was playing the last time he was available for T20. He was the vice captain. They've even came out and said that, I think Samson and somebody else were playing only because Gill was not available. And so I think the PR around it was bad, but sometimes when you are the person in favor and seen as the future, then people start making up all sorts of stuff around the decisioning. So, sorry, that's my little bit of a rant.
No, I think it's all fair. And actually, the person who lost out on all this is Akshar Patel a little, who was vice for quite a while and did an excellent job. But you could argue what is the vice captain's actual strategic responsibilities and all that. But yeah, it just feels like it came a little bit out of nowhere, even though, to your point, the retrofitting of explanations is happening. So you mentioned already Abhishek essentially at the top of the order as just being given carte blanche, just go berserk, and he does that. So no question from your point of view on his selection, right? Does he open with Shubman then?
I mean, that's where I'm confused, right? Because I think so. Shubman is either number 2 or 3 maximum. Yeah. He cannot play below that. So I'm assuming it's Shubman.
Okay. Then I think your no-miss batters from there on are Tilak and Sky, right? Can't really argue with that. I guess you could see a world where there's a little bit of debate, but I don't think you argue with those two.
I mean, I thought when this team was announced, my initial reaction was that Tilak is going to make way for Shubman.
Interesting.
Because Sky is a 4, but you do see him at 3 more often than not.
I think the
So
big
I
question
want to agree with you, but yeah.
I think the big question mark then comes down to one Sanju Samson.
Yeah.
And as of CricBuzz is reporting, at least yesterday in the net session they had out there, Sanju didn't do a lot. He was just kind of sitting on the sideline. Now
Really,
again,
I didn't read
yeah,
that.
people can read whatever they want into things, but Sky was batting a lot. Tilak was batting a lot. Jitesh got a lot of time out there, and Sanju just wasn't. Now who knows? Was there some sort of a illness or injury, or was there? But net sessions do typically give you that first inkling into how the team is thinking about it. So I am worried. I think that Sanju makes way in this side, and they're betting on Jitesh, and so that could be a really interesting play. So,
I think you're
so
probably right. Also, DJ, I think DJ has, and you have the same view on this one.
I mean, I don't think this is not what I'm saying. I think should happen. To
No,
be very clear,
it will
this is
happen.
this is more of a prediction. So if I look at it, I think Gill, Abhishek, Tilak, Sky. Then going from the bottom, I think you play Arshdeep and just Bumrah probably as your two
Yeah.
quicks, and then you play Varun, Kuldeep, and Akshar.
Yep.
So that rounds out 7 through 11. So your questions are numbers 5 and 6. You have to play a keeper in there.
So yeah.
So Jitesh,
and you have to play Pandya.
probably,
You have to play Pandya.
and you have to play Hardik. Yeah, you have to play
so
Hardik.
It's done. That's what I'm saying. It's done.
I guess I should say there's a question on, do you need Akshar, Kuldeep, Varun? If you are playing them, or if you're playing spinning wickets, basically my question is what role, if any, does Shivam Dube play?
Yeah.
Because don't forget about him.
Yeah, I think you're fair. I think we've right now picked 6 bowl. No, we've picked
6 bowling options, yeah. Because Hardik, Akshar, Kuldeep, Varun, just Bumrah and Arshdeep.
I'm trying
so you
to
have
think
6 bowling options, but
that's normal, right?
That's normal. Because that's normal.
Which is why it was like, I think like, let's do process of elimination, right? I think Rinku is definitely not playing, and there's something that is just
bonkers to me.
But Rinku hasn't done anything. Like, I'm all for Rinku, but he doesn't. He plays an average of 25 balls in 3 months of the IPL, 2.5 months of the IPL. Not his fault, not at all his fault, but
because he doesn't get a chance doesn't mean he shouldn't. I was looking for some stats. I have a stat somewhere about Rinku being, like, by quite a large distance our best finisher, statistically.
Yeah. I get it.
Among India's best strike rates historically. Like
I get
anyway,
it.
So yeah.
But you know better than me that he is going to miss out. Like, he is going to miss out. So and then I think, I mean, you got to play an Akshar and a Hardik, right? That there's no question about that. So I think,
can you play an Akshar and Hardik at 7 and 8?
Yeah, potentially. Or you move some of these guys up and play a Dubey later. But I think, but there's no keeper, right? This is why I was trying to tell you that I think
maybe Tilak
Samson
could make
play
way
at 3 instead of Tilak, and then that's your way of playing Dubey. But it depends on Jitesh, right? Like, Jitesh had a phenomenal IPL.
Yeah, I'm trying to see, is there any record of, like, where has Jitesh historically batted, both in the IPL?
6, 7, 8.
Yeah, he's never batted higher up, though. Like, he couldn't play in 3, could he?
No, I don't think so. And so basically he won RCB the IPL, right? Like, with that innings just before the final. So I think that's 5, 6, probably 7, what they're seeing. And to be fair, like, again, Shivam Dube and all have been given chances. So often what happens with India is you start with a certain playing 11. By the time you reach the final, it's slightly different. But I am inclined to believe that Jitesh will play probably after Pandya or after Akshar.
But if you want to play a Dube in that world, I think there's a world where this may sound radical, but you could say Gill, Abhishek, Sky 3, to your point.
Yeah, Akshar 4.
Akshar / Hardik, or whatever you want to do in that space, because it's all been done before. And then Jitesh 5. Right? So that you've got him in the position he likes to play, he's most comfortable, he's best at. You got your keeper in, and that allows you to slot in a Dube or somebody later. But it's never without debate.
Why don't we know? Like, we should reach a stage where we don't have to do the podcast. Everyone in the world knows the playing 11.
We spent about 3 years debating India's ODI number 4. about
Now,
3 years.
and he's now not part of anything, despite winning the most number of tournaments in the last year. Shreyas,
Listen,
but
it's a yeah. Shreyas, I don't know. I sort of get Gambhir's like sassy, or was it Agarkar who in the press conference was like, "Who would you drop? Like, who
yeah,
would you drop for Shreyas?" And it's like I get it, but also like it's unbelievable that he hasn't made the cut. All right, Varun. Finally, before we wrap this slightly chaotic Asia Cup preview, what do you see happening? We talked about who our Final Four is, who makes the finals, and who wins the cup.
I mean, obviously we're going to say India Pakistan, right? That is the dream, to have multiple India Pakistan. So it's potentially you could have three games in just this Asia Cup.
Yeah, I was not going to say India Pakistan. I mean, it'd be fun, but I think
Were you going
India
to say UAE
wins.
versus Oman in the finals or something?
UAE versus Hong Kong, actually. No, I was going to say India Afghanistan. I just have a feeling Rashid is going to want to show up on the big stage. I just have a feeling if Gurbaz and Zadran do well at the bat, they're a phenomenal side. Yes, so Afghanistan will win some games by phenomenal margins and then lose them by 110 runs. That's what will happen. But I hope that happens. A couple of days from the tournament start date, India's first game is later this week, right? So India's first game kicks off on September 10th against the UAE. September 14th, which is a Sunday, is going to be the big one. That's India versus Pakistan. And then India wraps out their group matches against Oman on the following Friday, the 19th, after which the Super 4 stages start from the 21st through the 26th. So it's going to be a busy couple of weeks of cricket. We'll be back next week to talk a little bit about how it's going, whether any of our predictions for the playing 11s were right, or if they came up with an entirely new combination that none of us had thought about. And make sure if you're on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you through the Asia Cup, or we're at One Tip One Hand on all the social medias. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thanks Varun for doing this preview with me, even though we couldn't come to consensus on the 11, as we never can. This has been the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast, signing off.